Hey all, welcome back to my channel. It's been a very long time since I've posted on here. For everyone who has stuck around and, just kind of hung out during my hiatus, I really appreciate it. I know that I don't have a lot of active audience right now, but I'm hoping to make that change. So just to kind of dive in, I have always really been very fond of storytelling. I have always been the person who always just sits everyone down, has something to say, and I make, maybe a 7-minute story like 25 minutes long. Storytelling is just something that I have such a passion for, and I want my channel to kind of transition into more storytelling. Now, I'm hoping to be posting videos on this channel somewhat regularly. I can't exactly commit 1000% right now. 100% maybe, but not 1000%. If you know, you know. But hopefully, like kind of taking this on is going to give me a little bit more structure to my day-to-day life and something that I can kind of like look forward to, and just something fun to do, honestly. If you have a passion, you should stick with it, and this is definitely one of mine. Without further ado, let's get into this week's story. Now, this story I kind of picked because it's actually one of the very first kind of true crime stories that I ever came upon when I was fairly young, probably 11 or 12 maybe. This story has always been one that I kind of like revert back to whenever I talk about, kind of like my interest in true crime, and it's just something that really kind of just like captured my interest when I first saw it. I was just like, oh my god, like I can't believe that stuff like this actually happens in the world. I just like couldn't wrap my head around it. So it's one of those things that really grabbed me and was like, hey, like this is something really interesting. This is the insane story of Dalia Dippolito. So just a little bit of backstory. This was one of the very first cases I ever came upon. I was probably like 12 or 13, and I had just gotten permission to have my own personal computer. Now, would I say that letting a 13-year-old have their own laptop in this day and age would be okay? Probably not. And honestly, it probably wasn't the best, 15 years ago. Not 15. Wait, how old am I? Hang on. 13. Wait. It doesn't matter. Oh my god. Anyway, I was looking at all sorts of things that a 13-year-old probably shouldn't be looking at, and I just turned 26 in May, so, back when I was 12, 13, the internet was still like kind of new. There weren't that many firewalls or site blockers like we have now to prevent young eyes from seeing things that they definitely can't comprehend. But I have I've always been, a pretty big fan of mysteries, crime, and then I'd say in the last 12 years maybe, I've really gotten into like horror and scary movies and scary things. It's like really become something that I'm like really excited about. Just honestly, anything scary, I'm like, yeah! I will say though, there was a very brief period between me being 10 to 14 maybe, where I was just absolutely scared shitless by my own shadow. And that is because I once tried to fit in with my older sister, yes, and her friends one night when they were having a little bit of a sleepover. They ended up watching the movie The Ring, which for someone who was like 11, then on a separate occasion, which was not that long after this first occasion, my older cousin was visiting, and he and my sister always wanted to like hang out together, and I, was just really feeling left out. And so I took it upon myself to do everything that they wanted to do with them, and that included watching scary movies. And so that is how I think I was like around 11, for the very first time watched The Unborn and The Fourth Kind in one day. Yeah, really bad idea on my part, honestly. I literally was so scared of the dark and just honestly anything. When I say I was afraid of my own shadow, I'm not kidding. I literally had to go to bed with pillows over my face. Like I would actually like pile pillows around my face and just leave a little hole for my mouth and my nose to breathe out of, so I couldn't like actually see anything in my bedroom, because my mind was always like, oh my god, like that pile of clothes is a person, like it's the unborn, it's the kid. I literally could not sleep any other way. Like feet exposed from the covers, not me. I would soon rather die of heat exhaustion rather than throwing the covers off myself and potentially being assassinated by a creature of the night. Anyway, now that you guys have a little bit of backstory as to why I am wanting my channel to go this specific way, let's get right into it. Just before 6 a.m. on the morning of August 5th, 2009, newlywed Dalia Dippolito drove the 1 mile from her home in Boynton Beach, Florida to the gym. This was a daily routine that she, did very consistently. While she was there, she ended up getting a pretty life-altering phone call. And the person on the other end was Sergeant Frank Ramsey, and he ended up telling her that she needed to return home immediately. And he was pretty vague on, kind of what was happening, but she of course was like, oh my god, like, what happened? So Dalia, seemingly very confused and concerned as to why a police sergeant would be calling her, while she's at the gym at very early in the morning, around like 6:30 in the morning. It's just she runs home and is just honestly thinking of the absolute worst. So upon arrival back at her townhouse that she shared with her new husband, Michael Dippolito, she was met with paramedics, police, ambulance, fire trucks. I mean, it was honestly like the whole brigade was there. And their entire townhouse was just adorned with crime scene tape. So Dalia rolls up, has absolutely no idea what's going on. She's freaking out. She's looking around to see, like who can tell her what happened. And at this point, all she wants to know is if her new husband, Michael, is unharmed. Now, before I get even further into the story, let's just get a little bit of history out of the way. Michael was a tall, dark, handsome, very kind man from Philadelphia. He actually was a huge fan of reality TV, and honestly, it was very obvious in his physical appearance. He fit the Italian-American stereotype of a Guido literally to the T. Now, if you don't know what a Guido consists of, think of the cast of Jersey Shore. Tall, crispy hair, really tanned beyond recognition, always working their biceps, but really honestly just ignoring their calves. Being an Italian-American myself, I can 100% confirm that this type of breed of human does truly exist. Michael honestly didn't have the best track record when it came to his criminal history. When he was 22 back in 1993, he was arrested in Philadelphia for possession and intent to distribute drugs, although court records don't disclose what kind. And he actually ended up skipping his first court date, which is a big no-no, and so the judge issued a bench warrant for his arrest. Another night that August, he was actually arrested on the freeway for offering a undercover deputy $15 for sex, and for that he pleaded guilty and was eventually released. Then in the coming years, he worked in a local boiler room. I'm not 100% sure what he did there. It was kind of very vague, but he and other telemarketers would try and recruit people to invest in foreign currencies and then end up stealing their cash. Then it kind of all started to catch up with him, and in 2002, Michael was arrested and he pled guilty to charges of organized fraud, grand theft, and unlicensed telemarketing, and he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. He ended up only serving about 7 months due to the time that he already had spent in jail waiting for his trial. So now that we kind of have a little bit more of a backstory on Michael, let's move on to Dalia. Dalia Muhammad was born in New York in October of 1982. I honestly couldn't find a lot of information between, her being born up until 2009, but honestly it seems like she lived a very normal life. Grew up, went to high school, attended college, kind of had really like everything going for her, honestly. And she didn't have like any criminal history or anything. She did attend college in the year 2000 and actually ended up getting engaged to an architect, and then they ended up both moving to California together. And the two of them actually eventually married, but everything states that obviously the marriage didn't last long. Dalia's ex-boyfriend, Muhammad Shihadeh, actually revealed that she admitted to taking her then husband's ring and money, and then after that filed for divorce. According to Muhammad, her ex, Dalia was very accustomed to getting what she wanted and didn't like hearing no. And then by 2006, she was back in Florida and, you know, was there long enough to get a real estate license. And honestly, that is really kind of all the information I could really find on her. So now that we have some backstory on both parties, let's kind of talk about how these two met. Dalia and Michael met when Michael had called for an escort, and Dalia was the one that ended up showing up on his doorstep. At the time, the then 26-year-old Dalia had a career as a call girl and an escort, and she quickly made a really fantastic impression on her client Michael. The pair actually hit it off so well, and this part just blows my mind, that Michael actually filed for divorce from his wife of 7 years, and then 5 days later, he married Dalia. It literally just blows my mind. I can't believe it. By the end of January in 2009, the couple had purchased a $225,000 townhouse, which was paid in full, so they didn't have a mortgage, and this was located in Boynton Beach, Florida. Dalia had started working at the Aventura-based Beachfront Realty, so she actually was the one that sold him the townhouse. Because Michael had kind of such a troubled past, Julia actually, you know, offered to help him pay his restitutions in one lump sum so he could end up getting off of probation. And he actually also signed over the deed to his $225,000 townhouse and put it in her name. He ended up telling police that Dalia was to be the sole owner of his home until he was able to clear his financial restitution to the rest of his victims. Red flag. Finances were actually a very big part of their relationship, and it's something they fought over constantly. Nothing, honestly, was really ever good enough for Dalia in this relationship, and so she started thinking about ways to kind of get Michael out of the picture. You know, she was kind of putting her hands together and thinking, what can I do? What can I do? Michael and Delia one night were staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and when they were checking out and they came outside, they saw police officers standing by Michael's Tahoe. The cops ended up telling Michael that they had received an anonymous tip saying that Michael was dealing drugs again. They ended up searching the car and didn't find anything, so they ended up just letting him go. About 2 weeks later, the same thing happened when he and Dalia were staying at City Place in West Palm Beach, Florida. Police had ended up saying that they got a tip from someone anonymously saying that there was drugs under the spare tire. And when police searched the car in that area, they did find a Newport pack of cigarettes, and inside that box was 2 small bags of cocaine. Michael, understandably, was absolutely devastated by this because he honestly had been really on the straight and narrow for such a long time. Later, in an interview with police, he actually divulged that he honestly believed that he was being set up, and he thought that Dalia truly was like really involved. Over the next couple weeks, Dalia actually attempted to murder Michael by lacing his Starbucks tea with antifreeze. Antifreeze. While Michael actually didn't ingest enough for it to be fatal, he was violently ill for several days. She also attempted to stash drugs and, you know, plant drugs on him and get him arrested, but those attempts ended up failing really miserably. So after all of this, Michael's own mom actually, you know, was kind of thinking, maybe Dalia has something to do with this. And immediately Michael came to Dalia's defense and was like, no, that's my wife. I can't believe you said that about her. Like, I love her. She could do no wrong. I honestly find this part specifically just really incredibly sad because you can honestly tell that he truly actually really loved her, like truly loved her. Then, you know, she was really starting to lose patience. So she actually ended up getting in contact with her ex-boyfriend, Mohammed, who I mentioned earlier, to try and source a hitman to take Michael out for once and for all. So obviously, upon hearing this plan that she had, Muhammad was very shocked and kind of like, ugh, what? What? But he actually ended up agreeing and said, hey, like, you know, I'm down to help you, like, let's do it. But without her knowing, he actually went immediately to the police after they met. Now, the police were very hesitant at first with the whole trying to launch a whole investigation. You know, they weren't really thinking that it was worth their time. But Muhammad was very, very, very persistent and said, you know, you guys, this is actually like very serious. My ex-girlfriend's trying to murder her husband. Like, you guys really should probably look into this because it's your job, you know? I mean, not trying to tell you how to like do your job, but you should be looking into this. He actually did end up convincing the police to investigate the case. This is one of my favorite things about this case. By the luck of the Irish, the TV show Cops was actually filming the specific precinct that was, you know, going around arresting people. They were actually filming this precinct to, like, you know, get footage for their TV show. And the TV show ended up agreeing to film everything about the sting operation that was going to go down. The police ended up setting up a hidden camera in Muhammad's car and then ended up having him schedule another meeting with Dalia. The two met up again on July 30th, 2009 in a gas station parking lot. Muhammad ended up telling Dalia that he found a contact that would be able to carry out what she wanted, and she would be meeting him in 2 days to coordinate the details. Muhammad eventually asked Dalia if she even had a thought about what if Michael's mom suspects her of killing him once they find him dead, and she says, and I quote, "Why me? Do you know what fucking killing somebody is? Killing somebody. Come on. Nobody's gonna be able to point a finger at me." The narcissism. I can't. She was sure that everyone would be convinced that Michael's mob friends were the ones that actually carried out the crime. She said, and I quote, "I'm gonna throw all their fucking names in and I don't care." Unquote. Now, unbeknownst to Dalia, the Boynton Beach Police Department had an undercover cop named Witty Jean. He was gonna go undercover as the hitman and, you know, unearth Dalia's intentions. Again, the police department coordinated with the producers from the show Cops and had a hidden camera installed to make sure that they could capture everything. Now, the video is very undeniable and actually quite shocking. Officer Jean actually asks Dalia, like, "Are you prepared for this?" And he asks her, quote, "Are you sure you want to kill him? There is no changing your mind." Unquote. And without hesitation at all, Dalia replies, and I quote, "There's no changing, I'm determined already. I'm positive. I'm like 5,000% sure," unquote. And then the video continues with Dalia just kind of playing with her ponytail while they still kind of, you know, talk over some of the details. So on August 5th, the stage was completely set. Following the plan that Dalia and the supposed hitman had, Dalia left for the gym at 6 a.m. Now, honestly, I can't imagine what was kind of like going through her head that morning because, you know, she was driving to the gym and then I'm sure there was some sort of realization that she was like, oh my god, like when I come home, my husband is going to be dead and I am going to be rolling in the dough. It's just pure evil to say goodbye to your husband in the morning, knowing that he's going to be killed within the next 30-45 minutes. The police, who had been following her every move, made their move and descended onto the townhouse. The police started banging on the front door, you know, making themselves known, you know, telling Michael that he needed to open the door immediately. And of course Michael is like, oh my god, you know, like this is happening again, I'm getting framed again. You know, like they probably think I have drugs, they probably think I'm a laundering or something, like I just got off probation, I can't do this anymore. And in the videos, I mean, you can just see the terror on Michael's face. I mean, this poor guy. He had been getting set up left and right and was just living, honestly, in constant fear that he would get pinched for something that he didn't actually do. And because of his criminal record, he might not be believed. Then the police show up at his house at 6 a.m. telling him that his wife, who he's defended and who he said he loves, put a hit out on him. I can only imagine, actually no, I can't imagine what was going through his head at that moment. After the police ended up taking Michael off into police custody where he was safe, this is where, I just love this case so much. This is where they started to work their magic. So they actually ended up setting up a completely fake crime scene. They wrapped the front of the house with crime scene tape. They had police cars with their lights flashing. They had ambulances. They had fire trucks. They had police just everywhere, just scattered everywhere along the property. They even had a forensics photographer just snapping pictures as if he was taking pictures for evidence. Y'all, it was just so perfect. It was so perfect. So once everything was methodically and meticulously put in place, Police Sergeant Frank Ramsey, who I had mentioned in the beginning of this video, places his call to Dalia. He didn't divulge any other information over the phone other than that she had to return home immediately, and even when she asked like what happened, what's wrong, he still was extremely vague and just said, hey, you just need to come back, like this is serious. This is where it gets good. Dalia comes rolling up to her house playing the concerned wife. And remind you guys, like this is all on video, okay? This, like the cops show is like in the fucking bushes following her. They're up in her face. They're everywhere. Now, I'm not sure if she knew about the whole cops. I really doubt that like she knew that they were filming like for a TV show, but this is where it gets really good. So in the footage, she's, walking through kind of like a sea of cops, and she finally gets up to Officer Ramsey. Now, Ramsey starts, asking her just, the normal questions. Is this your house? Is this your car? Is this your husband? Is this your property? Do you live here? He just wanted to get kind of like just the base questions out first. Now, while she's standing there answering affirmative to all the questions that are being asked to her, that's when Officer Ramsey decides to deliver the very devastating news that Michael has been killed in a home invasion. Dalia literally just, without a second thought at all, just completely crumples into the arms of Officer Ramsey. And honestly, it was like a very Oscar-worthy performance. Like, I'm not gonna lie. She's screaming, no, 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 no. I mean, this girl can act. I'm just saying, like, instead of going after your husband's money and wanting to kill him, you could have taken a very different career path. If she put even half the work that she put in to, number one, finding a hitman and then having him carry out a murder for her, money would be no problem for her if she put that much effort into finding or following an acting career, truly. And remind you, she's being filmed from like every angle, so I honestly believe that when she saw all the cameras from the cops show, around poking out of the bushes, from around the corner, just like looking at her, I feel like she really pulled out all the stops. She was like, you know what? Go big or go home. She probably was thinking, if I'm gonna be on the news, I have to make this like really believable. Really believable. But in reality, she really had no idea that she was actually making her very first reality TV debut. So as with any murder crime scene, all those who are very close with the individual who was murdered are taken immediately into police custody, down to the station, not arrested, but just down to the station to be questioned. Now, this is when Sergeant Paul Sheridan starts to comfort Dalia as a widow at this point. It's been not that long. It's probably not even been an hour, since she found out that Michael was killed, to the point where she is now in an interrogation room. He was really playing the part and allowing her to play her part as well. He was sympathizing with her left and right and just telling her like how sorry he was for her loss and just how horrible this entire situation is for such a young newlywed couple. And she was eating this attention up. Then there was news that they had to go identify a possible suspect that was found near the scene fleeing. In the interrogation footage, Sergeant Sheridan, continues to allow Dalia to play out this sad widow fantasy and, just continue to let her play the part. So while she's in the interrogation room, they start, kind of going over the just kind of normal questions as they would in an interrogation. The whole time, Dalia is just crying, saying that she wants to see her husband. And they keep saying, no, like, we can't do that, unfortunately. Now, my theory is that she kept asking to see her husband so that she herself could confirm that he, in fact, did get killed, and she really got what she paid for. And I feel like that just kind of makes this case, like, that much creepier, that, I don't know, she was just very vindictive and didn't care about anything except herself and money. Then she starts talking about how Michael had friends in the mob and how they should be considered suspects, and it really kind of starts spiraling off like a little bit out of control. So that's when Sergeant Sheridan has to step in and kind of like bring her back to, okay, well, before we do that, let's focus on this. Sergeant Sheridan leaves the room for approximately 16 minutes. And this is a pretty common tactic with interrogations where, the detectives or just the interrogators will leave the room and allow the person of interest to kind of steep in their own thoughts, and hopefully they get tripped up. When he comes back, he abruptly opens the door, and it kind of like, shocks her a little bit. And he sits down and very sternly he goes, okay, like, we really need to get serious about this. He ends up opening the door to the interrogation room and starts yelling out into the hallway, hey, get in here, like, bring him in here. Sorry for the sudden change in lighting. I took a break and I didn't want to come back, so it is actually the next day, but let's continue. Now, Gene, playing the part of the caught criminal, immediately says that he doesn't know Dalia, he doesn't recognize her, and she also immediately says that she doesn't know him, she's never seen him in her life. And then the detective asks, why would this guy be fleeing the scene after a shooting? And Dalia says she has no idea. She doesn't know. Then Detective Sheridan asks for the suspect to be removed from the room. So after allowing Dalia a few more minutes of sniffling and crying with no tears, Detective Sheridan, was kind of like, okay, this is it. No more. I have to turn the heat up. Now this is where we start cooking with gas, people. Detective Sheridan continues to press Dalia for more answers and wants to see if she's going to crack under pressure, but Dalia is so used to getting what she wants. It's always what Dalia wants, Dalia gets. And she wasn't planning on cracking anytime soon. She continues to deny, doesn't know the suspect, doesn't know what's going on, still thinks that Michael is dead. And she's still playing the actually very well acted role of widowed wife. Finally, Detective Sheridan has enough, and he literally lays the facts out on the table. This was the most satisfying gotcha bitch moment of all time. He flat out says to her face, the game is over with. He starts explaining to her that everything was a huge setup and that they know everything. They know about her plotting to kill Michael. They know that she asked her ex-boyfriend to source her a hitman. And they know that she wanted to do it for money. And then the best part was they revealed that the hitman that she had hired was actually an undercover cop, Witty Jean. The look on her face is absolutely priceless. She completely freezes, and you can just tell her mind is just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like, what can I do? What can I say to make this seem believable? Make me still think, like, make it still look like I am kind of a deer in the headlights. I still don't know what's going on. blah. In the footage, she's actually like she's in real time trying to piece together everything that was just said to her, and it is so satisfying. Then she immediately shrinks down into her seat that she's in the interrogation room, just to kind of look small and pitiful and innocent, and really quietly she goes, "I didn't do anything." Detective Sheridan repeats himself, tells her again everything, lays it all out, and then he actually drops the bomb that Michael is alive and well and is just a couple doors down. Dalia, of course, is shocked, doesn't really know how to like piece all this together. She doesn't really understand like what's happening right now. Then she starts pleading with Detective Sheridan, just saying, "Oh my God, like please, I want to see my husband. I love my husband. Thank God he's alive." But Detective Sheridan is having none of it and immediately tells her that she is being arrested for solicitation of murder and putting a hit out on Michael. You can actually feel the panic rise in her voice as she keeps trying. She's just stumbling and stumbling and stumbling, trying to like explain her way out of this. But you can also tell that she, in her mind, like actually knows that she's not gonna get away with it after all. Then she starts whispering to herself, oh my God, just over and over again. And then she keeps saying, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I'm completely innocent. Where's Michael? I want to see Michael." The best part was when Detective Sheridan said that she's probably gonna need a really good lawyer because the evidence that they have is her on tape saying that she is 5,000% sure that she wants to go through with having Michael killed. Detective Sheridan ends up leaving the room, and kind of as a last-ditch effort, Dalia yells outside into the hallway, "I don't know what's going on here," you know, as if that would be believable. She knows exactly what's happening. Then immediately officers come in and arrest her right on the spot and read her Miranda rights. It is a very satisfying moment in true crime history. Then a couple moments later, Michael actually stands in the doorway. He's out of frame so you can't see him, but you can hear him. And Dalia is just yelling, "Michael, come here, come here!" Like she's super demanding. It's crazy. It's just so sad to like actually see in real time how she was treating him, and then she's in like a sticky situation and she's still treating him kind of like shit and really just like demanding him to come into the room. And you know, there could be part of him that actually wanted to, but they have a very brief back and forth, and the whole time Dalia is just denying every single thing and just pleading with Michael and telling him that she did not have anything to do with the events that earlier transpired. And what I love is you can hear Michael say, "I heard you. I heard you. I heard what you said. I saw the videos. I heard the recordings. Like, there's nothing you can say to me that's gonna make me believe you that you didn't have anything to do with this." And in real time, this is all happening incredibly fast. So it's only across maybe 20 or 30 seconds that this is all happening. At least in the interrogation video, it's over about 20 or 30 seconds. Like everything is just boom, 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 boom. And like they do cut the video, but you can see where she's getting arrested and then where Michael shows up, and then they have that little chit chat. It's very, very quick. Before Dalia can continue to try and dig herself out of the massive grave that she's dug herself in, they immediately whisk her away so she can get booked into jail. Now, this part, I don't understand. In an odd twist of events, Dalia decides to use her one phone call that she gets to call Michael. And this is all recorded, so, you know, the recording is on the interrogation footage as well. And she is just begging and pleading and just saying, Mike, I did not have anything to do with this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're talking about. I love you. Please help me. She also, she's so dumb. Like, I can't. Like, the narcissism with this woman is so gross. It's icky. The ick. The ick. She starts telling Michael that everything that they showed to him, they showed to her. And she's saying, I saw and heard everything you saw. And Michael goes, yeah, I saw everything and heard everything you said as well. Like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? And she is just over the phone, you know, whining and saying that she needs help, she needs money for an attorney. She's asking him for money for an attorney for herself. Like, I just, the narcissism, y'all, I can't. Now, I'm sure that the majority of us here are familiar with the feeling of being gaslighted, and it is a horrible, horrible feeling. And in this footage, Dalia is just completely gaslighting Michael, saying, like, you don't know what you're talking about. This, and this didn't happen. I don't know what you mean. None of that happened. I had nothing to do with this. She just keeps going on and on and on. And it's really sad to, like, listen to and watch, because it's very clear that that was Michael's life the entire time they were together. And it is a horrible feeling to have yourself questioned and your beliefs questioned, even when there is cold, hard evidence. It truly makes you feel like you are going crazy. Like, it truly does. It makes you feel like you're going crazy. And people who tend to gaslight others, those are master manipulators. They know exactly what they're doing, which is the scary part. Those are the people we need to stay away from. Just, no. No. Dalia has the audacity over the phone to ask Michael for money for an attorney for herself. This part blew me away. I could not believe. I mean, yes, like, seeing her as a narcissist, I could believe it, but just thinking about, like, this whole situation and her putting a hit out on her husband to kill him for money, and she's now asking him to help her. How sick are you to hire someone to kill your husband and then have it blow up in your face and then ask him for money to help you? Like, I can't wrap my head around that. If you guys listen to the recording, it's one of the most infuriating things I think I've ever listened to. It's really gross. I'm telling you, it's the ick. It's a big, big ick. Big icky. And I will link all of that down below. I'll link the phone call and I'll link the interrogation video. So fast forward, Dalia actually spent 20 months in jail before she actually had a court date for her hearing. And that trial was in April of 2011. She and her lawyer came up with the most bizarre defense. Just bizarre. They claimed that Michael was just a huge fan of reality television and that it was his absolute dream to be on reality TV. And so their defense was that this entire murder for hire plot was a complete hoax. And it was all just a big ruse for them to film and then get put on reality television. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine being that lawyer and standing in front of a jury and explaining that as your defense, saying, oh, like, this guy, look at the way he looks, look at the way he dresses, look at his crispy hair, look at his tan. He's obviously obsessed with reality TV, and they plotted with each other to make this a thing so they could get on television. Like, On May 13th of the same year, the jury came to a verdict, and they actually only needed 3 hours to debate. Dalia was found guilty for the solicitation of murder and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Unfortunately, the sentencing was thrown out later because of a technicality. I couldn't find what the technicality was. I'm not sure if it was something with the jury, something with the prosecutor, something with the defense. I have no idea. So during the retrial in 2016, the defense went with the same story, that it was all a ruse to get on reality TV. Like, it's one thing to do it once, but twice? Luckily, the jury for this trial saw right through that, and they were like, what? No. Like, that is completely asinine. Like, it just doesn't make sense at all. She was sentenced to 16 years, July 21st, 2017, without the possibility of parole. Her release date is set for August 24th, 2032. Her appeal actually ended up being rejected in 2019, and she will remain in the same facility until the end of her sentence. When she gets out, she will be 50 years old. That is gonna do it, guys. Thank you for following along and listening. Again, this is something that I'm actually very excited to continue doing. I love just telling stories. If you guys have any stories that you want me to tell, you can link them. You can even just leave it in the comments. I can do like a little like mini-sode. So, you know, I can tell people's stories, my subscriber stories. I think that'd be actually really fun too. And it could be anything. It can be paranormal, it can be scary, it can be serial killers, you know, like honestly, whatever you want. We are making a complete 180 in the direction of where this channel is going from where it once was. But I'm still gonna leave the videos up from previous because they're funny and they're kind of cute and they're good memories too. So if you are interested in true crime or just things creepy crawly with a comedic flair, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!